Okay, today I wanted to talk about Resident Evil 4 and basically kind of what that, just talk about the story. I have been playing it again, playing the remade version here recently because I'd played the old one years back, probably 10 plus or more years back. And finally, now that it's remade, and more importantly, now that it's on sale, I can replay the whole thing. And I'm really loving it and really enjoying it. And I just wanted to talk about the story and what it does because video games, as it may surprise you, also have stories. So what we want to do is go in and try and figure out kind of what the story does well, what it doesn't do well, and kind of just what it does in general, more or less. So, the story starts off with Leon Kennedy. He's a United States officer currently, but previously in his backstory, he was a rookie cop starting in the city of Raccoon City. He was his first day on the job when a zombie apocalypse basically breaks out. More or less, within Raccoon City, there was a corporation, a pharmaceutical corporation called Umbrella, and they had started the basically a whole started the zombie apocalypse, more or less. So they've been doing medical experiments, trying to create a super soldier and super warrior basically for that. And as a result of that, it inevitably escapes and people start turning into zombies, and Leon makes his way out. So that's Leon's backstory. So he has experience with zombies and everything like that, and he can handle himself, and he's very capable. So fast forward a little bit, what we've got here, kind of where we're introduced, you kind of see Leon in the flashbacks or everything. Leon is training with this other guy, like Green Beret looking fellow. They don't really introduce him. He comes into the story later, but he's been training, so he kind of learns how to fight and more. He's getting more experience based from here. And then he is sent into a mission because the president's daughter goes missing. Ashley, her name is Ashley, and she goes missing, and Leon is being sent to go find her because they believe that she's being held somewhere in this remote little Spanish village, or this Spanish area, or in the kind of the backwoods, remote, very, very, very remote area. So that's kind of the backstory. Where we're introduced here is Leon is driving out with two Spanish police gentlemen, polizei, and kind of what the story does from the onset, more or less from the very, very beginning. What we've got is they're doing a sort of contrast with Leon and the two policemen. So what they'll do often, I feel like with horror movies, where they're trying to get the audience to feel, this sense of unease, is what they do is they send a whole lot of symbols and signs that something is wrong. Basically, something's obviously wrong. And then you have one character who's like, hey guys, I think something's wrong. And then you have a few other characters who say, nothing is wrong. Everything is great. Everything is perfectly fine. And what it does is it creates this contrast, and so you have this tension that's at play. So we have one character who's like, I don't know, something looks obviously spooky, scary, something's obviously going on, and the other characters are like, what are you talking about? There's obviously nothing going on. This is just a creepy dark woods with scary noises. There's absolutely nothing going wrong. I know there's rumors about a mass murder or serial killers or who knows what's going on. Nothing's wrong. So that's kind of the opening. So they're driving down in a car, they drive around, and then what happens is Leon gets to where he needs to go, which is a short little house, basically kind of a hunting lodge house. He kind of arrives there, and one of the police goes to say hello to kind of drop him off, because the policemen, you can tell through their conversation that the policemen are useless. They have no intention of helping Leon. They kind of make fun of him. They say like, ooh, there's spooky stuff going around here. People have died, ooh, or people have gone missing. Sounds like you should probably do something around it, Mr. American Cowboy, basically. That's their kind of view of him. So one of the policemen gets out and goes and takes a look around. He uses the bathroom, and then he goes and takes a look around, and then he I think he sees something, and then he disappears. Poof, he's gone. And so the people waiting for him, Leon and policeman 2, wait for him at the car, and then something's going on. obviously something seems to be going on because he's taking forever. So the policeman too is like, "Hey, Yankee Cowboy, why don't you go see what's going on? I'll wait here in the car." Because obviously he's useless and he doesn't want to do anything. And also, it's really spooky scary because, did I mention, through the entirety of this is like secret, spooky, scary woods, and everything's dark. And so it's not exactly, a super happy, fun time spring adventure or vacation that you're going through. So there's that. And so Leon then decides to venture into, this hunter's house, basically, this little lodge that he's got going on. And it is a nice looking house, as you would imagine in a game called Resident Evil 4 with zombies. It's a really, really nice looking house with demonic symbolism and, just all around just messiness. So what we're doing is the story has set up that the characters are saying there's nothing going on. Nothing's going on. And that's what we're understanding. Where it's like, I understand you say there's nothing going on. However, you're obviously wrong. The first policeman went missing, so we try and figure out what's going on. So we go into the super scary, spooky house with very, very poorly lit stuff. So that's the opening. That's kind of your opening sequence. Because again, the way you want to think of games and stories and movies and all of these is usually how a lot of these are oriented is they have like a little mini story, a little bitty mini story basically from here. This is the first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, first 20 minutes, kind of depending on how you can pace it from here. And what that does is then it overlaps into the much longer story. But it is important that this initial story is basically acts as a microcosm for the macro story. So what you want from here is you want to tell and give people a taste of what they're going to enjoy should they continue playing, with the idea that you've now lured them in and they want to continue playing. So where we've got is here, this is this whole Hunter Lodge sequence. So what we're trying to convey with this story is, one, it's spooky. Two, it's scary. You can kind of get an idea of what the story is like and what it's about, because you have this understanding that Leon is being sent in, alone, solo, with a pistol to go save the president's daughter, which seems a little bit ridiculous, but we're not going to question it too much. But I'm also going to talk about that kind of some of the silliness aspect of the whole story. But the ultimate thing is this is probably the most well-known and well-loved of all the Resident Evils, and it's a very, 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 very famous game. And yeah, no, they've done a lot of things with this to make it really well known. It sold very well. They're remaking it now, and the remake is even better because, of course, it looks a lot better than 2004 GameCube graphics, which may shock you 16, however many years later we are, math number of years later. And that's where we're at. So this is kind of the fun thing to go through some of these older stories and try and just look at what makes them work and what makes them tick. So again, we've entered the Hunter's Lodge and we're going through. We're seeing something seems to be wrong. And we come into the main entrance and there's nothing. There's no one in the house. And so he calls out and no one answers. So he's going through, he's exploring the house, he's going through and he's exploring the hallway. He's going from there and everything's looking great. And then we have this super scary, secret, depressing staircase. So that's really nice. Leading down to the super secret, super scary basement, which is even better because, of course, the most thing we wanted most, other than to enter the super secret, scary hunting lodge alone, was to go enter the house, to enter the basement of that scary basement of the scary house. So we start heading down there, and down there we meet a young, a gentleman in the prime of his 40s or 50s. He's a little scraggly, shaggly looking. Fellow, he's got bright eyes and nose and all the other things, and he looks a little odd. He's got a little odd look about him. So you're not quite sure of him. He's speaking Spanish, so we can't really understand anything that he's saying. So we're trying to figure out and ask where the policeman, what happened to our buddy, the policeman, more or less. And so as you're trying to figure out what's going on, then the guy attacks you with an axe. So he attacks you with an axe, and then you get your first enemy in the game. And so what happens then is you pull out your pistol and pam, 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 and he's dead. and you're like, holy cow, this random Spanish peasant farmer guy just tried to murder me. That sucks. So we're trying to get out because obviously this is not a great place to be because people are, hospitality rules no longer apply. They're trying to murder people, all that kind of stuff. So we get up and out of there and we run. And then we come out and then we hear over the intercom, we hear our buddy, policeman 2, back at the car something's happened to him. You obviously know he's been attacked. So he's been attacked and then the car disappears and you're just like, great. And so this is kind of what it does. The good aspect of horror is it gets you stranded. So you're wandering into a situation, and as long as you have a way out and you can just leave at any point, it really kind of takes away from this horror aspect of it. So what we've got here is you're stranded, you're completely isolated, you don't speak the language, you don't know anybody or anything like that. You had a car, that car is gone. You had 2 buddies, but guess what? Everybody from the beginning of the story, everybody split up. And so everybody split up and went their own separate ways, and then guess what? 2 of them died, and now you get to go on your merry way trying to figure out what's going on. So this is your opening. This is your opening from here. And then it kind of, I think as you're kind of wandering through the village, and it kind of pans up and it's like, boom, Resident Evil 4 and all that scary stuff from there. So that's kind of the opening sequence. So kind of talking about a little bit just about the basics of what this does for us. So it gives us this kind of story gives us a good character. So we've got a strong character. He's a strong character who's capable. So he's going to sit in. He's rescuing the president's daughter, which is of course a good thing. That's it. So he's got a righteous mission, and we don't know what is going on outside of this. There seems to be some people standing against him. There's at least some sort of mystery going on. So what we're offered in the beginning of the stories, we're offered, of course, we got to go on the rescue mission. So we, of course, want to rescue the princess, basically, because that's what it is. Ashley is literally the modern day princess. From there, so we got to go rescue her, and then we've got this mystery. We want to figure out what on earth is going on at this village. Like, there seems to be something bizarre going on. Not like your regular Spanish villages where there are no zombies or people trying to murder you at every step. This one seems to be a unique village with all of those unique traits. So we're trying to figure out what's going on from there. We have a character who seems very capable and very, he's playing the hero role. He doesn't really seem to shy away from going into scary parts. However, he doesn't seem to love it. So he's kind of got the right amount of reluctance in that aspect. So he's kind of like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Something seems to be going on, which is kind of gives us some sort of relatability and everything like that. Because it would be a very different story if he went in and he was just like, yes, I loved Raccoon City. I love zombies. I love being the only human within a 100-mile radius of a million people trying to kill me. This is my jam. And so what you get from that is you get this relatable character. Because again, the character kind of mirrors what the audience is supposed to feel. So if you wanted this to be a fun kind of black comedy, you could have a character who's really like, this is something like Zom 100 or something, where the main character is in a zombie apocalypse and he's like, hooray, this is awesome. I love being in a zombie apocalypse. I think this is the coolest thing ever. But again, we don't want that. We want this to be dramatic and scary. So we're going to have the main character be on edge, but he's capable. So that's kind of the balance of this. There's games like Amnesia, where they talk about where the story is introduced and you have a main character who's kind of going through this, but he doesn't have the tools or weapons basically to fight anything. So it's very much a runaway sort of story, and you're just kind of running away, and that's kind of where the story goes from there. And then you're trying to fight some evil underneath the castle, and then whatever happens. Yeah, what happens at the end happens at the end. You have to play the game to see what's going on. So there's that. So we've got this, and this is kind of our intro piece. Basically, again, this is the intro piece for the game. This is what we're kind of starting you off at. And there's a few interesting aspects that they do. It is a very wholesome, straightforward story, I would say, because you've got a similar story, similar aspects, where you have a main character going to try and save the princess from an unknown village full of hostiles, basically. and this is what this story is. But you got something fairly similar with Bioshock Infinite. Now, what Bioshock Infinite is, so basically what you've got is you begin, bring us the girl, wipe away the debt. You get this character who's introduced to Bioshock, and you don't know where he is, where he's coming from, or why he's getting the girl. We're just assuming the reason why we're rescuing the president's daughter is because he's the president and he has a daughter. Any more questions? That's the reason why we're rescuing Ashley in Resident Evil 4. But in Bioshock, it becomes this whole new aspect of mystery because you don't know what. You don't know why. You don't even know who you are. You don't know who the main character is. You don't know who Booker is. You don't know why you're rescuing the girl. You don't know how you got there. It's just kind of all right, you're here now. We're going to go. You're going. And that's it, basically. That's all you've got. That's what you're going after. So you kind of see how these stories kind of take a very similar opening. Again, they turn into various different stories by the end of it. But the initial opening of it, what you've got is you have a story where somebody's like, hey, this is what needs to happen, da 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 da. You need to go get this person. And you can see how this is a very, 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 very textbook example of you have a hero, you have a princess, you have an unknown village, basically, that you're going into. It's very archetypal or whatever you want to call it. But it's not, no one's reinventing the wheel here. All of this is very, very basic, very bare bones, straightforward. But you can see how a few changes, such as, who is our main character, can change it and turn it into a very different story. So with the other one, it also makes it much more of the plot is about the village and the world, a lot more focused on that rather than focused on Leon, because we know who Leon is. We also get a very relatable main character who kind of gets to play the romantic hero, basically. He's a romantic hero in the aspect that lowercase romantic, or uppercase romantic, not romance hero, but a romantic hero, because he wants to save the princess, and he wants to do it for just and righteous reasons. Booker, we don't know what his motivation is. We start to learn that, and that kind of begins to play a bigger and bigger role. But you've got these two dynamics kind of following a fairly similar similar introduction, because they kind of follow this whole save the princess archetype. But I wanted to show you guys kind of what you can do with this archetype and how you can kind of start it off, and how it can start off fairly basic and bare bones, but it can still do a whole lot with it. Even though this story has been told 1,000 times, both of those games are amazing, and they're best-selling games, and they're almost universally loved by everyone who plays them. So it's pretty awesome to see that happen. So but yeah, I think that's all I had to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoy this one, and I will probably talk about Resident Evil 4 in the future, or maybe a little bit more. I'm still playing through it, so we'll see from there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one.